Good morning, everyone. Welcome to everyone who's present with us today, live in spirit here or online. Everybody is welcome. It's a beautiful day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. I think we're all mothers. So welcome. If you choose to stand to help sing the next song we're going to have, you're welcome to stand up and join us. We're going to start with our the congregation helping me with our heart-centered community. So if you'll join me in saying, we are a heart-centered community seeking spiritual awakening and transformation by deepening our connections with God, self, and others. So if you can remain standing to sing Love Unfolding, if you want to.
Open to changing the world. Let it begin, let change begin with me. My heart embraces a world wrapped in peace. Let it begin, let peace begin with me. I am an agent of change, a sweet dove of peace. I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love. I am an agent of change, a sweet dove of peace. I am love unfolding. My eyes envision a world aglow in love. Let it begin, let love begin with me. Together toward all that is just. Let it begin, let justice begin with us. We are agents of change, sweet doves of peace. We are love, we are love, we are love, we are love. We are agents of change, sweet doves of peace. We are love unfolding.
Please be seated. We have a transformation affirmation, which I would ask you to join me in saying. Unity of Bloomington is generating an abundant future. In expansive alignment with spirit, we lean deeply into truth principles, live our faith, and trust the process. Our greatest desire is to be abundant and attract those who value spiritual growth, including our next right minister. Okay, we're in the song Gifts of the Goddess.
These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? All the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? All the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Laughter, I am ready. Forgiveness, I am ready. Abundance, I am ready. I am ready to receive. These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, I am ready to receive. All the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. gifts of the goddess I am ready to receive.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Today's mystic moment is we celebrate the divine feminine, the source of all life. The divine energy is an energy we all possess, no matter what gender we are. Girls can be strong, boys can cry. I was raised where girls had to be soft and cry, and boys had to be strong and not cry. I think we need to mix it up a little bit. Every human is a composite of both masculine and feminine energies. Our world is now dominated by masculine energies, and there's a growing recognition of the importance of enhancing our divine feminine energy. This force is associated with intuition, nurturing, compassion, and creativity, and it plays a vital role in balancing the dynamic energies within us known as yin and yang. Award-winning feminist author Lucy Pierce points towards a deeper understanding of the divine energy that exists in and around us by saying, together, we are learning to move from raw emotion and frozen muscles into a flow with emergence deep within us, from within us. We are learning to dance our prayers, bleed our words onto the page, laugh our images into the canvas, build our dreams in the world, to transmute and transmit the energy of the feminine through our bodies and out into the world. And the Dalai Lama acknowledges the transformative potential of the feminine when he states that the world will be saved by the Western woman. Today, let us celebrate our divine feminine by being intentionally compassionate, authentic, and resilient. Today, we have a talk from Dan Piekarsky. Dan has been a member of Unity since 1996. He has served several terms on the board and currently is secretary of the U of B board. Dan was born in Pennsylvania, but grew up in Oklahoma. Go figure. Following the completion of his degree in journalism from the University of Oklahoma, he moved to Seattle, Washington, where he met the love of his life, Beth. Shortly after their marriage, they relocated to Bloomington, Indiana, where Dan began his studies in opera at the Jacobs School of Music. Beth and Dan have two adult children, Will, who lives in Chicago, and Christopher, who just moved to New York. Dan currently works for the Career Services Office as a career coach in the Kelley School of Business, his favorite job ever. He loves to play tennis, cook, and play with their little dog, Lulu. Please welcome Dan with his message, Are You My Mother?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Let me see if I'm on here, and I am. Thank you, Andy. Thank you to the music team and everyone for me to be here today. As I was writing this talk today, and I was thinking about it, and I've been mulling this over for months, you know, when I came down to coming up with the talk, I was like, I came up with P.D. Eastman's book, Are You My Mother? You know, this is a children's story about, you know, a little hatchling who hatches while his mother is away, and he has to go in search of her, and posing the question to whatever things and animals that he met, are you my mother? And as a child, it's a delightful book because of the silliness of the question. In that fact, especially when he goes and asks the steam engine, are you my mother? And of course the steam engine goes snort. And of course it's not the mother, right? And so for children, it's kind of a very funny, engaging, and knowing that they'll get to and connecting with the mother at the end. And what I'm talking about today is, you know, who is your mother? Who is the maternal influence in your life? And not everyone has had a wonderful maternal or mother's energy in their life. You know, some people have suffered loss or abuse and haven't reconciled that connection to the maternal. And they are seeking the maternal mother's energy that can nurture them.
And so many of us are missing a maternal figure, either through loss or trauma. And in my talk today, which is really a celebration of what I call the mother's energy in our life, and I'll be recounting my own search for my mother and the influences and impact of a mother's energy in my life and spirituality. In doing some research and getting inspiration, I came across a few things on the internet that I thought I'd share. One internet author wrote, "A mother's love is an all-encompassing force that shapes the fabric of our being." Another writer wrote, "A mother's love is multifaceted. It encompasses the fierce protection of a lioness, the gentle guidance of a teacher, and the unconditional love of a true friend. It means being a caregiver, a confidant, and most importantly, a constant presence. It's a love that knows no bounds, a love that sacrifices without expectation, and a love that endures the toughest of trials." In my research, I've also kind of always looked to see what Rumi has to say about it. And Rumi was a 13th century poet and Sufi mystic. And his work has been catching my attention over these last several years. And what he said about mothers, he said, "We are born of love. Love is our mother." We are born of love. Love is our mother. And some other writers have written and reflected on different facets of a mother's love, a mother's energy. And from Victor Hugo, "A mother's arms are made of tenderness, and children sleep soundly in them." Poet Robert Browning, "Motherhood, all love begins and ends there." Jessica Lange, "The natural state of motherhood is unselfishness." And Maya Angelou, "To describe my mother would be to write about a hurricane in its perfect power." That's a very wild, wonderful image, and it definitely reminds me of my own mother. I believe these are accurate facets of a mother's energy, but as always, there's only a small part of a complex human being. And while some of us have missed the mother's energy in our life, many of us have benefited from the maternal love. But we also get some of the notes, the not so loving aspects of another human being, raising another human being. And so sometimes that creates drama and conflict. And with our own past and our own struggles, sometimes we miss or feel like we're lacking of a maternal reassurances or others' issues that color the mother's energy. Now, I've had the benefit of having strong mother energy in my life always. And I've had several powerful influencers in my life, and I thought I'd tell you a little bit about them and some of their impact. My mother, Lenore, with my dad, Edwin, adopted me in 1963 at the age of 3 months. I was the second child they had adopted, as my mom could not have children of her own, and she desperately wanted children in her life. And I grew up in a home with unconditional love, support, prodding, and leading by doing. Lenore was tireless. She was a stay-at-home mom while I was a young child, later taking jobs out in the community. But she was stay-at-home, she was always there, and she was very involved in our Methodist community, our Methodist church community. She was a choir member, she sang, she was a soloist, she was a cook at the annual spaghetti dinner that we had to raise funds for the church every year for years. It was kind of fun because I got to go in there and help her cook a little bit when I was little, and that was always a special time. As I grew older, she set her cap to make sure that I achieved. And as the malleable, mostly agreeable, dutiful son, I went along with everything she dreamed up. She created, she got me involved. She was like, you're going to be a leader in this. You're going to be in the 4-H. You're going to do the FFA thing. You're going to be a speaker. You're going to do all this. And, because of that drive and connection, I was really, I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. when I was in high school. I sang in the National FFA choir in Kansas City, with the FFA choir, Future Farmers of America. And, these are just a couple of the highlights that she, because of her energy, and it's like, you're going to achieve this, we're going to help you get these applications in, and we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay, Mom, whatever. And, she instilled in me, a love of music, a love of horses and animals, and also sweat equity. She modeled drive and industry, and I took note on this mantle. She also had a few flaws. She mistrusted other women. She was not a good colleague to other women in and around her. She was pretty good at manipulation, laying some guilt. And she also had a little holier than thou attitude because she was so involved with church, everything. These are aspects of my mom that I really kind of stood out to me. It's like, I love my mom, and she's an awesome person. But as you grow and you start learning, you start looking and go, wonder what that was about. And as I've grown through Unity and the things that I've been learning here, I get to revisit my relationship with her and the things that I've learned. I get to re-look at them, and I think, what was missing in her life? What was creating that need for that reaction, that need for control? And as an adult, I was able to give her some space. She was doing the best she can. And from that, I was able to get some forgiveness and some light, and to love my mom. But I also can be authentic about her. I mean, she was the piece of work sometimes. She really was. Another one of my major influencers, my mother's energy influence, was my grandmother, Violet. She was a huge mother's energy in my life. Talk about love and nurturing and hugs and everything. She was born in 1900 and married at 16, had 4 children that she raised. She was also a tireless worker, a cook, a baker, and a wonderful board game player. She loved her board games, and she would always let her youngest and favorite grandchild win regardless. Another tireless worker, is another role model. I mean, my grandma cooked and cleaned and had a big garden, and she, it was just really, because of her and because of her love for cooking, it was a means of service to her family, a means of love. And she always, she was the beginning of my lifetime love of being a foodie and of being experimenting with new foods and new flavors and everything. And, because of her, cooking for me has become an act of my own love and an act of my service. And my grandma, taught me the secret ingredient into every dish that she made, which she said is love. It's like, this is the secret ingredient. I put love in whatever I make. And I've tried to continue that tradition of, when I'm cooking for friends and family, to add that spice called love. Now, one of the things my grandmother had was also, she was like a world champion worrier. She worried about everything. I mean, everything. She worried. And, when I grew up in it, so I didn't really think about this as a problem. It was just kind of who she was. But she really worried about stuff, and she worried about things that were totally out of her control. And, looking back, I realized, that might have been really, she must have been really scared about things. And I was able to kind of look at my grandmother. It's like, wow, that must have been really tough and debilitating almost, that you had so many worries about so many things that you had absolutely no control over. And it wasn't until I was going to Unity a while, and probably another one of lessons from David LeBeau, or maybe it was Reverend Lynn Carlson, and she talked about that worry is negative imagination. It's creating all of these dire situations and everything that could go wrong. And that was kind of instilled in me. So I had a little muscle developed as a child to worry about stuff, And she also would use it a little bit as leverage. It's like, don't make me worry about you. So, there was some downside. It's like kind of nice side. Oh, Grandma's really thinking about me. Well, Grandma's worrying about me and thinking about all these negative things that could happen and would happen, maybe I would have done or whatever. And so I really, that moment in Unity when I was like, worry is negative imagination was suddenly freeing. Because I realized imagination, you can control it. You can direct it. You can create it. And in the moment when you have a moment of negative imagination, you can go, oh, wow, that was just imagination. Let me imagine something wonderful. And because of that skill that I learned through Unity, I was able to begin turning things. Now, I'm not perfect. I'll still have this moment of negative imagination. Oh, what happens to something to the boys? And of course, I do have my lovely wife, Beth, who's here today, to look at and say, what are you making that up for? And all of a sudden, when it's like, oh, I'm creating that. Well, why would I ever do that? And so that was another thing that I learned in Unity. It was just so freeing. And I really have become pretty skilled at creating a positive, energizing imagination that blesses my life. And it's freed me from this burden of taking on another's negative imagination. I just let it go. Another wonderful mother's energy influencer came into my life in the 4th grade when I began taking piano lessons with Ruth. I continued my lessons with her until I graduated high school. So this is a very long time, a very long relationship. And Ruth was one of the first adults in my life that would sit down and talk to me like I was another adult. And she was a PhD in music, and I learned a lot of things from her. Just about life in general, and of course about music. And on reflection, I'm probably looking back, it's like, here's this older woman, it's like, why was she drawn? Why did we have these conversations? And I was realizing she's probably lonely. Her children were gone. She lived by herself. And so the conversation was just helpful for her, and it was amazing for me just because I learned about it. So, but I will say she's the first person I ever talked to, and not the last, but the first person I ever talked to that told me how angry she was over daylight savings time. I mean, she was angry. I think about, this is, I love daylight savings time myself. But this is the first person that I talked to that's, it was all about someone's making me do something and it's controlling me, and she was angry. And I realized that this may have been partly why, and probably contributed to the fact that she did have rheumatoid arthritis. She couldn't play piano anymore because her joints were so swollen and inflamed. And I believe that may have been part of that condition, that she just had some anger. And I don't know how to solve that. And I know that maybe there was something missing from her, some mother's nurturing, some love that was in there. And I just know that I really enjoyed my time with her, and that we were able to talk and share and things like that, and I learned a lot from her. And, I like to think that maybe, having that relationship, I was able to contribute to her in some way, because she absolutely had contributed to my life. But, the mother energy, I like to think of it as being pure, and then, the rest of us, we're human. And so when we can tap into that divine energy, that beauty, it's healing and loving. Now, the last one not the last one, because I am so blessed. I can't tell you how many powerful women have been in my life. But the most recent one to come into my life is kind of an interesting story. Well, first of all, I have to go back. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. The most impactful influencer in my women's energy, mother energy influencer in my life is, of course, my wife, Beth. She's a tall, willowy woman who is a powerhouse in life, a gifted educator, and she is another tireless worker who is always seeking improvement and growth in our own life and our own relationship. And from Beth, I had to learn, or rather unlearn, some things from my mom, Lenore, and kind of relearn some new thought patterns and some new love languages. And I also got to watch my wife, birth and us raise our children together, with her own unique mother energy and love, influencing our sons, Will and Christopher. And, they are independent, really kind of unique children. And like as Kathy said, the last one just launched literally last week and is working in his first professional job in New York. The most recent impactful Mother's Energy influencer came into life when I was 55. And through a Christmas gift from Beth of 23andMe, I eventually met my birth mother, Nancy. I also met my biological father, Larry. And I met my full sisters, Amy and Nicole, and my brother, Brett, at the age of 55. I also got to meet my half-sister, Lori, who's only 9 months younger than I am. And that's another story. From this family with Nancy, I gained 2 new nephews and 2 wonderful nieces. As well as not to mention what felt like 100 brand new family members. My father, Larry, was from, I think there were 8 children in there. And if you think 8 children and grandchildren, it was overwhelming. And literally the first time that I met them at a park in a small town in Pennsylvania, it was a little overwhelming. And, but at the same time, I really felt that there was just so much love and acceptance in there. They really wanted to meet me. And that was an amazing experience. One of the things that Nancy told me as we talked, and we've gotten to know each other over the past 5 years, is that she always, of course, you wondered what happened to this child that she had to give up. And, she prayed that I'd had a good experience and a good life. And she was also very fearful that when I met her, that I wouldn't like her, or that I would have some anger toward her from giving me up as a child. And I want to say that my years in Unity, have kind of paved the way of developing that muscle for love and acceptance, and for having an open heart. And it has been an amazing gift to get to know and talk with Nancy over this time, and to learn things about her and my father, and to learn about my sisters and my brother Brett and everything. And I know that in these conversations that I've had with Nancy, that I've been able to let her know that I love her, and let her know that if there was ever any resentment or that I may have felt at any point in my growing up, that I forgive her, and that I had a wonderful life. And I know that she loves me. And it was really interesting. I always knew I was adopted. Always knew I was adopted. My parents didn't hide that. And, I love that through Unity, I'd developed kind of this understanding. And I had created space in my life to have my whole new biological family step into my life. And that there was love and that there was acceptance. I do have to admit, my heart was right there. It's like, I have family. It's like, wow, I have family. But it took my mind a little bit to get around it, because there's a lot of people in this family, and I still don't know them very well. But I got to know my mom, and, my head was going, my brain struggled a little bit about comprehending all this new family, and, what was my role in this family? And, what do I call Nancy? Would it be, hurtful to my mom, Lenore, that raised me? I don't really know everybody. I don't have any shared history. When we get together, they talk and they tell hilarious stories about them growing up and the things that they did and got into as children, And, it makes me sad because I wasn't there for them. But at the same time, it's kind of an odd space to be in because they are family. We all look a lot alike. It's really wild. I kind of compared myself to, as I've gotten to know my family and embrace them, that my heart has grown a little like the Grinch, where his heart just kind of expanded. And I realized there's always enough room to have another person, another loved one in your life. Who wouldn't be blessed by having an entirely new family who just loved and accepted you and wanted to know you? And all of this love is all what a part of the mother's, energy in action in my life. Now, I realized that, and I mentioned earlier, not everybody has a great maternal experience. And they may not celebrate Mother's Day. Mother's Day may be a day of pain for them as they have to think back. And our remembrances of the maternal in our life may be from our childhood, where a child's understanding of the bigger picture isn't always clear. And, as children, we tend to fill in by whatever we can to make sense of what's going on. And you don't know that you're doing that as a child. You just kind of do it, and then you make up stories about this is what this means and this is what's happening. And but as you grow and you start having an understanding, if you look outside yourself, you start beginning to see that maybe you didn't understand everything when you were 4 or 5 or 10. And that maybe there's a bigger picture here, and that there's more nuance in there, and there's more, things to understand and look at. It's a little bit like your spirituality. When I grew up, God was in the sky and there was a hell. And in fact, I remember vividly having a conversation with a little friend, and we were probably in kindergarten, and he was like, there's a devil in hell and he's gonna get you. And I remembered that, and it was like an odd space, because I don't really remember in the Methodist church having a major conversations about the devil and hell. But that friend put that in my brain. And so I was there living with that. And it wasn't until, I have a wonderful story in that, and that I hope illustrates kind of this chance for us to kind of transform and rethink about maybe things that we thought about. And David LeBeau one time was talking about this, and I'm not going to get this story very perfectly clear, but he was giving a lesson, and he was talking about one time Jesus, and he was talking about hell. And the translation of the Aramaic and the Hebrew and the Greek, kind of hell, Hades, and Sheol. And I always thought there's a place under the ground and there's a monster down there going to get you, right? And so what he was talking about in Sheol was a place that the people took dead bodies, people who had died, and they would take them. And they would light fires and, burn incense because of the decay, and they didn't want to draw animals, to ravage the bodies. And so there it was smelly. There was decay, rotting, there was smoke. It was a dark place, not very clear. And the message that Jesus was giving in his talk was that in hell, we are in a smoky, smelly, awful place that we don't want to linger. And it gave clarity that this was not a monster, that this was a creation of my mind, and that if I send myself, or whatever circumstances send me into that, if I think that I'm stuck down in this smoky, dark place where I can't get clarity. And you can stay there as long as you want, but I don't recommend it. And, we can lift ourselves out of that and just realize that that is not a place that I'm going to. But it's actually a state of mind. And so unity was one of the things that helped me lift up out of that and get clarity. And so I was able to apply that to kind of thinking back and get clarity in my relationships with the mom and my relationships with the powerful women and powerful mother's energy into my life. And it gave me a new perspective, a new way to look at that. And some of that, some of the things that I think back as traumatic in my childhood, I was able to take a second look and give those wonderful people some benefit and some grace. And so love, because of what they did give me was powerful, which I've lived my life from. And so I wanted to, use that help of understanding that gave me, a way of reflecting on, the mother's energy. This new understanding really can lead to forgiveness and the transgressions that may have occurred, and it can create a new space for healing. So again, I wanted to go back to Rumi. I profess the religion of my love. Love is my religion and my faith. My mother is love, my father is love, my prophet is love, my God is love. I am a child of love. I have come only to speak of love. In closing, a mother's love, the mother's energy, is a divine gift, a sacred bond that nurtures, protects, and guides. It's a love that transcends words and actions, a love that is felt deeply within the soul. As we reflect on the stories and the things that I've shared with you today, the quotes, that are an attempt to capture some of the essence of this incredible love, we're reminded of the profound impact on our lives and the world. And in celebrating the strength and the beauty and the depth of a mother's love, a mother's energy, we recognize the extraordinary women who embody this love every day. So to all the mothers, grandmothers, stepmothers, foster mothers, mother figures who give themselves so selflessly, we offer our deepest gratitude and respect. Your love shapes the present and molds the future, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and souls of those you touch. You are mother's energy. You are goddesses who see us for who we are and who we can become. You raise us up. When I am down And oh, my soul, so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be. As we now move into meditation, please make yourself comfortable in your chair. Let's take a deep breath and let's be grounded. Feel the support of your chair underneath you as you get comfortable. I want you to take a deep cleansing breath, inhaling, and let that breath release. And I want you to take a moment and just think about the love in your life, where you feel supported. Think about the people who have blessed you, whoever they are, and how they've gifted you with love. take a moment now to think about the people who you have been, the divine energy, the mother's love, and what your gifts have been to them, and the love that was there for you. And this is the divine energy. This is a mother's love. This is the goddess. And we are blessed. So take a moment in the stillness that's to come to breathe in the love, to breathe in the forgiveness, to breathe in the love, to breathe out your love into the world, and be connected in the stillness to all that is. And we are grateful, and we are blessed.
Thank you, guys. That Heart of the Mother, that's a really beautiful song. As we prepare for the offering, we prepare to show our gratitude for what we continue to receive. There's several ways to contribute to Unity. Checks and cash are always welcome, or you can use the text to give button on the screen or the donate button on the website. As the offering bags are passed, you may want to bless the bags with their contents. If you are new to us, please fill out the blue visitors form that's on the seat in front of you, the back of the seat, the pocket, with your impressions. Prayer request forms are also available in the packets. Both of these forms may be dropped into the offering bag.
I am an abundant being in an abundant universe. I am not dependent on people or situations for my good. God is the source of my supply. I always have something to give consistently give it. I expect the best, I give my best, and I now attract the best in every experience.
I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you awake to all the wonder that you are. I long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved. You're here to remind me of my magnificence, to help me awake to all the joy I'm worthy of. You long to show me all the joy I'm worthy of. You're here to remind me how much I'm truly loved. I'm here to remind you how much you're truly loved.
I invite the congregation to join in speaking to bless our blessings. Divine love
Flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am blessed.
Now, there's some announcements on this. Reverend Karen Williams' mother we're saddened to hear that she recently made her transition. Services for Rosemary June Williams will be in Rockford, Illinois on Monday, May 20th. Our prayers and thoughts are with Karen, Wendy, and their entire family at this time. There's a card in the lobby for Karen. If you would care to sign that, please do. Newcomers Connect are for those who are new to Unity or Unity of Bloomington. It'll be next week, May 19th, immediately after the service in the Katie room downstairs. Marianne Williams will lead a get-together to give you more information about the overall Unity worldwide movement and Unity of Bloomington in particular. Joni Spain has an announcement up here about Reverend Stephanie Sy.
All right, we have been engaged in a dynamic and powerful transition process. Naturally, questions and ideas are expressed about future directions, questions that revisit who we are, who we want to be, and where we see ourselves, not just today, but moving boldly into the future. We have our mission, vision, and values to guide us. We have a 40-plus year history to stand on. And we have each other. And the commitment we made at the beginning of this journey to grow together through this transition, a commitment that we've kept faithfully. We're bringing candidates to town in the month of June to interview them further for the role of senior minister here. And as we move into this next important phase of our ministerial search, we've invited our good friend and mentor, Reverend Stephanie Sy, back to Bloomington. Reverend Stephanie will give the Sunday message on June 2nd and mingle during social hour to answer your questions about welcoming a new spiritual leader into our community. Board and search team members will address specifics of our process, but Reverend Stephanie will talk more generally about change, about our old friend chaos, and about expectation management in the chapter ahead. We're grateful she's available to lend us her energy, wisdom, and expertise, and help kick off the dynamic month of June for Unity of Bloomington. Thank you.
Phyllis, she has some announcements for the search committee.
She turned it off. By many of your comments from our community discussion and survey a couple of weeks ago about Reverend Dr. Ruth Miller, we were able to realize that she is a very prominent and well thought of person in many circles of the national and even the international unity community. However, in discussions with her, and based on your comments from those discussions that we had a couple weeks ago, it became evident that Reverend Ruth's focus and the Unity of Bloomington focus really were on somewhat different paths, especially in terms of our definitions of part-time and full-time. So after collaborative discussions between the search committee and the board, we have made the difficult decision, and it was very difficult, to release Reverend Ruth as a minister candidate. So we wish her all success in her many areas of life, and we've actually invited her to return here to Bloomington to retire. And she's really happy about that idea, but she's not ready to retire yet. But we will not be inviting her for further interviews, and she no longer will be one of our ministerial candidates. That was not just our decision, but it was hers along with ours, that we were diverging a little more than we wanted to be. So Reverend Catherine Breaux will be with us the weekend of June 9th, and Reverend Manasseh Gabon will be with us the weekend of June 16th. Please put these times on your calendar and plan to be available with us for the entire weekend, if we can manage that. So we plan activities to get to know these candidates. And then on the 9th, after the 9th and the 16th, on the 23rd, which is the following Sunday, we'll gather together as a community again to look at our opinions of those two candidates and discuss our opinions prior to the board making a decision as to whether or not to hire one of them as our next minister. And that will be the board's decision. We will give them our input, but there are lots of things to consider other than what we saw on the screen and what we see when they come to visit us. There are other things to consider too, so it will be the board's decision for that. So we want to thank you for your honesty, your transparency, and your investment in our future by giving us your honesty and your transparency. Your leadership team appreciates you more than you ever will know. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Our speakers, May 9th, are Tana McElhenney and Reverend Bill Breeden. How do we deal with our errors? That ought to be a good one. The May 26th is Ron Masters, Know Your Truth by Heart. And like they said, June 2nd is Reverend Stephanie Tsai, The Joy of Chaos. June 9th is Catherine Breaux. And the 16th is Manasseh Gabon to talk for us. I would like to ask you all to join me to say the prayer of protection, which is the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Please join me in forming a circle, and we'll sing, Let There Be Peace on Earth.